Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the HVAC Grapevine Show.
What's up, everybody?
That was my best introduction I could ever do right there.
That was
we
a
might
good one,
capture
man.
that
Welcome
and make it part
to
of the introduction.
HVAC Grapevine.
I am your host, Chris Hughes. Along with me are my hosts, Eric Kaiser, Michael Cianfranco. And today we are going to be talking about thermostat settings. So that's the topic of conversation. So if you
Thermostat settings, so that's like 72?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, man.
65, right?
So this kind of stemmed out of last week's show.
77.
And if you missed it, you definitely need to go back and watch last week's show. It was dynamite. We had Steve Rogers on, and we got into one specific thermostat setting. And that turned into some brainstorming that I had with Brett Wetzel. And I hope I said Brett's names right. Now, you know what? Let's just bring Brett on to make sure I don't butcher his name. Hey, Brett, how you doing? Did I say that right? Is it Wetzel?
It's exactly
Wetzel?
pretzel. You got it right.
Wetzel, like pretzel?
Yeah, 100%.
Got it.
If
never heard that one.
If you talk to Bill, yeah, it's Brett Pretzel, and not that I haven't heard that since kindergarten, but yes, that's exactly how you pronounce it.
All right, so we got Brett on today, and we want to start a new series of shows where we talk about go a little bit more granular and then maybe build our way up. The idea is like, let's get some shows out there that are truly educational. They can be resourceful. People could grab it, share it, throw it back out in front of somebody and say, man, you should watch this show. The information in this show, it's more planned, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that's kind of the idea behind this show. So,
Mike, I think he's saying we're not educational.
What? Jennifer says, can I use them for HVAC chicks? Yeah, chicks, dudes. I mean, do whatever you want. Doesn't matter to me.
They're on YouTube. I'm pretty sure you can use them for whatever you want at this point.
Well, that might be the problem. I don't think she knows how to download off YouTube. That might be an issue for her.
Oh, well, I think you got to have a paid YouTube subscription for that, don't you?
There's other creative ways around it.
There's nothing to do with me, right?
No. I mean, we don't have anything monetized, so there's probably not a lot of.
You know why? Because we just don't have enough subscribers, man. That's the problem. So if you just made it,
how to do it. Tell them how to
you just made it. Click that subscribe button.
Come on, man.
That way we can start getting our pennies that add up to dollars.
Slap that like button.
We get some shirts made. You know what I mean? We could be famous.
Yeah, I need a new pair of glasses.
I just want to go out of town and be like, man, I know that guy. And it actually be for something good and not something bad.
Like I learned something.
I saw that guy's picture on a milk carton once.
Right.
Oh,
exactly.
There was a guy one time that met Kevin, and he's like, man, I thought you'd be taller. I was like, that's one of the creepiest things I've ever heard. I was like, you were 2 seconds away from being like, you smell like the inside of my mama's purse. I dig it.
I thought you'd be sexier, boy.
Right.
Sorry, man.
Yep, educational right here.
Sorry.
So I'm going to be father figure here today, man. Just going to say we got to keep this show structured, right? So here's the deal. If you're watching, this is how this is going to play out. We're going to do 10 minutes of the show where we're going to talk about the news. Eric's going to give us some little tidbits about what's coming down the pipe. And then after 10 minutes, we're going to cover 5 topics, and we're going to do 10 minutes per topic. So it's kind of like speed round talk on specific topics, right? I'll do my best to try to keep us from going down a rabbit hole.
I'm over here trying to build structures here. I'm looking at everything on my desk trying to build structure.
So we got 5 minutes. Eric, tell us
5 minutes of what?
You don't get all 5 minutes, man. You just got to tell us what's coming down the pipe. What do people need to be paying attention to right now?
Everything.
HVAC.
Pay attention to everything.
Put your head on the swivel.
Right. But what shows are coming down the pipe?
So a couple shows coming down the pipe this fall. A new one that is in Berkeley, California, that I'm going to get to go to this year, which sounds interesting, called the Heat Pump Summit. It's a one-day show.
Supposed to remind you of that. That's right.
Looks really cool. I have actually seen the advertisement for that. I probably won't be able to make it because I got to go to ResNet. ResNet will be right at the same time. You got to do that too. But yeah, I don't know how you're pulling both off. It's impressive. I'd like to try to do it.
It's the magic of Bill Spone, baby. We're going into Berkeley on Sunday. We're doing Heat Pump Summit on Monday, November 13th. And then Tuesday, we're flying down to ResNet. And then Wednesday kicks off ResNet. So.
Where's ResNet?
San Diego.
Yeah.
San Diego.
See, the good thing about those two shows is at least they're in the same time zone. And like, I know Chris and Brett can feel me on this one, because when you're bouncing between shows and places, like you start crossing too many time zones and it hurts.
Going to California and spending a couple of days and then coming back and going, like, when you're running the show, like it's intense. It's like you've got to teach. You've got to shake every hand you possibly can. They want to pick your brain to the nanas and back, and then you're going to dinner. And there's always going to be people at dinner who want to pick your brain all night. I mean, and then you go to sleep, rinse and repeat. You're going to do it all over again. It sounds like it's easy, and I hate to sound like this is a bummer. It's not. It's tons of fun. But
he loves his job.
I love my job. But it's like the amount of hours you put into that day. It's like you get limited sleep, and then boom, it's like going to a concert. 5 days in a row. And then you come home and you're like, oh, time change hits you. It's intense.
These shows are, I mean, it's a lot, because you're literally going 8 to 10 hours a day at the show, and then dinner and whatever else afterwards. And you go back to the hotel room and crash for a few hours. And
you're going down at midnight.
Yeah. A lot of times. Yeah.
And you're waking up at maybe 5:30.
Yeah.
To go at it again.
Yeah. But yeah, that'll be a good show. If you want to know more, look it up at heatpumpsummit.org. It will be, I think I'm speaking at that one. Haven't got the for sure, but it's supposed to be for contractors and building professionals. And it's all around putting heat pumps into building new buildings, existing buildings, all kinds of stuff. Probably going to be a lot of focus on residential.
No furnace talk, right?
If we got any Raiders in the room and you're going to ResNet, me and Eric will be doing a class there as well. We will be doing a breakdown of Standard 310. We will be doing a showcasing a real run through of the whole shindig. That's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. When is the New England home performance coming up?
I don't know, but I will ask Brett. Brett, you got anything you want to throw down before we get started?
The white or the red?
Actually, we have the North American Sustainable Refrigerant Council going to be out in St. Louis, Missouri, November 14th to the 16th. And then the show also goes to Pittsburgh, which is the 20th through the 21st. And then it's in Irwindale, California, which is the 30th till May 2nd. This event is just encompasses all natural refrigerants. So we have CO2, obviously, and there's tons. It's not just how to learn the systems. It's, Bitzer was there last year. Copeland was there last year. Hill Phoenix was there. Kaiser Warren, Zero Zone. There was over 17 different individual classes. And they also had AHT was there talking about propane and their micro distributed systems. And True was there as well. So it was nothing but training. Like, it wasn't just one of those events where it's like, oh, look at our product. No, this was like legitimate. Like, it was cool because other instructors got to see other instructors actually teach when they normally don't, which was awesome because you saw different styles of how to get your point across, right?
Yeah,
that's cool.
And I think it's not been written in stone, but I think I'll be speaking at the one in Pittsburgh and the one in Irwindale.
Nice. That's awesome, dude.
All right, so catch Brett when you can on those two shows.
Brett, where can they find out more about that, those events?
I knew you were going to do that. NASRC.org.
Of course I am, man. Come on.
Structure, baby.
That's right. Structure and usefulness and all that kind of stuff.
So we're closing in on the 10-minute mark, guys. And I really wish I'd have got like a bell for this, because like that would be a whole lot of fun. Just like ding, ding, ding.
Does Overtime have something like that?
He does, man. I love that bell. It's
what
pretty
is the
fun.
bell for, though?
So The
I'm
bell.
not sure.
He had a bell sound effect. Adam had a bell sound effect, and I felt bad because like he's always just trying to hit the button. So I Amazoned him a bell.
Oh, that's awesome! It came from you.
Yeah, well, not the original one. I sent him a nice belt, and I spelled his name horribly wrong. Hopefully his wife picked up the package off the front door because it was awesome. I'll tell you after the show.
All right, guys, here we go. Let's rock and roll.
Where are we going?
So
down a rabbit hole? Are we going down a rabbit hole?
We're going down the rabbit hole.
Let's
All right. So what you see here is my best mock-up, quickly done, of a thermostat. So what we have here,
I'm going to tell you right now, my thermostat has never said that.
Yeah. Well,
Brett, you got any thermostat?
Work with me, bro. Work with me. Doing the best I can.
Brett, have you ever had a thermostat that said that?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Just I'm asking a question here.
Maybe it did say, not all at the same time. Maybe auxiliary heat and ACC, but that's it.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's rock. We got 10 minutes to do this for all the people who need to know this stuff. Let's make it happen.
10 minutes? What?
10 minutes, man. I told you it's go time. We got 4 more of these. All right. Eric, you're the smarty pants, man. Kick us off.
So that's 24 volt, the hot side of the 24 volt transformer, the non-grounded side. There you go.
Yep.
And never mind. Go ahead, Chris. You got it. You take the rest of them away. You asked me to start it off.
Okay. I'll tell you something. I'll take RC.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one for me because I didn't see it a lot in the field. Normally you'll see the jumper between R and RC. And the reason you'll see that jumper is because you have a single transformer system and you're sending power, from one source of power through the whole circuitry. What that is kind of there for, in my opinion, is there used to be a time in the marketplace in residential where the outdoor unit would actually have a transformer in it, and the indoor unit used to have a transformer in it. Wasn't very common for many things that I have seen. Don't cut me off, man. Come on, Eric. You're going to tell me I'm all wrong.
Stick back.
So R and RC is a northern thing when there's boilers involved and a single thermostat, so that you can run a boiler with its own transformer, right? Because it's its own heating system. And then RC is the R for cooling.
Yes.
So that's your transformer power for cooling. So it sends power to Y1, Y2, and W1, W2, etc., and the OB. But
I didn't know that.
I'm sorry, not W, not W. But so W then is going to be coming from R.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, that's really interesting. I didn't know that's why that was, but I've seen it as 2 transformer systems being played.
Yeah, that's pretty rare. It's really rare to see a transformer in an outdoor unit in residential. That's a commercial thing from everything I've seen.
Well, it's funny you say that. The times I have seen it were typically like at a school system, and these pieces of equipment have been outside. They were early 1980 installs.
There's my transformer right there. It's the only transformer that's worth.
All right, so go ahead, Mike. You'll take the easy one.
Oh, common, baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's your path back.
That's your path back from the transformer.
So what needs to be, Mike, what needs to be done with common? Right off that transformer, what needs to happen to that common?
On the transformer?
Yeah.
Got to be grounded out.
Why?
Oh, boy, that's a damn good question. Pass?
I'm going to say so it can pick its path, man. Like, when you ground the common, now you're making a plus and negative come alive on the transformer. If you don't ground it, it's going to float.
I'll be honest with you,
either side could be.
That was a greenhorn. That was a weird one.
It's got to be grounded there so that a fuse can trip if you ever get a wire rubbed through to ground.
All right, we're going to put Brett on the spot. Brett, we're going to have to speed up a little bit. You've got Y1 and Y2. We'll just combine them and throw them at
Double up.
Y1 first stage of cooling, Y2 second stage of cooling. And I guess that could be a multitude of things, right? You could do a chilled water system, and you could have, regular mechanical cooling as well. Or
I mean, you can select 2 different fan speeds with it too.
yeah.
Oh, let's throw this out there too. There is equipment nowadays that it's very important that you land Y1 inside the air handler and terminate it there. You used to be able to pass it straight through the air handler box and not have to land it. But I know Ream did this for a while from what I remember. Like when you didn't land the Y1, the fan motor didn't speed up. It ran like a super low speed until you landed the Y1.
Yeah.
That's a good point, man.
Why
You'd have to have either it would have to be on the board that actually runs everything in the air handler. You'd either have to have another relay, right? Or the logic inside the actual air handler itself will, if it's an ECM motor, it's going to change the frequency, how fast that's spinning. Is that correct?
That's where the change happened.
Okay.
Was when ECMs came along, because if you think about old air handlers, they used to only have single or maybe 2-speed motors at the most, and they used W to turn on the fan for cooling. So the continuous fan and W were the same, or cool speed were the same thing.
Right.
So when ECMs came along and you have multi-stage condensers and things like that, then they broke out W and Y1 and Y2 as separate fan speeds to go into something.
And I know we're pressed for time, but Train with the 824 thermostat, you got to do Y out. Like you got to bypass the air handler in some situations.
Yeah,
you got to do crazy.
You really
RTFM, man.
Yeah, you really have to know and follow the wiring diagrams from the manufacturers, because some places will not call that Y1, they'll call it Y low.
Yes.
And if you're wiring up,
that's my rap name, by the way.
Y
low.
There you go, man.
So if you're wiring up a single stage piece of equipment, you have to wire everything to Y. And if you're wiring up 2-stage on that equipment, then you have to put Y1 to Y low on the equipment.
And then don't forget about BK for Train.
Yeah.
What's
all right, Eric? You take us right into W.
Not Burger
W2.
King.
That's
our low speed fan.
W2.
We skipped you, man.
No, we didn't. We're going straight up from the top to the bottom. We did.
Brett just did Y1, Y2.
All right. Well, I'm not from the north, man. I'll take OB. You take WW.
Structure, baby. Structure.
Oh, because you don't know what heating is. And so Louisiana guys, they don't know what heating is.
I do. It's called a blanket.
It's called open up the window, bro.
Open the window.
Oh, damn. I'm kicking toys over here.
Okay, that's hilarious. But anyway, so W1, W2 is heating, stage 1, stage 2 for multi-stage equipment. That's your low fire, high fire, low compressor. Well, okay, not low compressor, high compressor on a heat pump. That would be your backup heat, low and high on a heat pump. If you're using your backup heat or your emergency heat.
Okay, I'll take OB, I guess.
Straight cools.
So O or B or OB, whatever you want to call it. So depending on the manufacturer, this is heat pumps and heat pumps really only, from what I understand, until Eric goes, yeah, you're not from the north.
OB. He said that like 15 times.
Yeah. OB, that is our heat pump call to energize or maybe de-energize the reversing valve, but probably just to energize it, right? We're going to send a call to the reversing valve.
So not the squirrel here, but I have a question, because I know in certain areas, sometimes it fails in cooling where the reversing valve is not energized. In some other areas, because it's colder.
Yeah.
What do you have to specify that when you order, like how you actually want that unit to operate?
No, my area, I'm always energized.
Each manufacturer has a standard. And the O terminal is fail to heating, and B terminal is fail to cooling.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, so depending on which manufacturer puts what on their units, and most manufacturers use O. There's a few of them that use B, right?
B.
Yeah, Ream uses B. There's a couple others. I think. Is it Climate Master that uses B? There was some Geo units that use B, and I don't know. It depends out there. And
I've only seen Ream and Rudd do B.
We got
Yeah.
15 seconds. AUXE, real quick. Mike, what are we doing? AUX.
Auxiliary heat.
Auxiliary
Electric
heat.
heat.
All right. Brett, you want to take
5
ACC?
kW.
What's the E in Auxie?
Excellent.
Auxiliary or emergency.
Emergency. There you go. So
Emergency. That's right.
that when you turn it into that, it shuts the heat pump off. It won't turn the heat pump
Right.
on.
And always do Y1 and aux together.
All right.
Do a jumper there.
We're over time.
No.
We're over time.
Saves electric.
No.
Last word in. Nice.
No.
All right. ACC. We're going to sum it up real quick.
Occupied?
Auxiliary, like if you want to, some thermostats will have a spot for an auxiliary set of dry contacts. Let's say you want to add a sensor and have it control something. They'll typically be like an ACC1, ACC2, like a pass through a set of dry contacts. Sometimes you might see two sets of those. Various the uses can get pretty wild. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Sky's
We got to move on.
Next slide, please.
All right. Compressor protection. All right. So
Can I take a shot at this? What I think it might be?
I think we should. Yeah, Brett, I think it's your turn, man.
Man, I honestly think compressor protection. Is that a terminal, or is that just because what I'm thinking is compressor protection would be like some kind of anti-short cycle delay.
Yeah,
that's exactly basically what it is.
Okay.
It's an internal timer.
In the
So
thermostat, so it doesn't short cycle back and forth.
That's right.
It's the one every technician when they restart the 24 volts sweats for 5 minutes.
taking so long? You should have turned on.
I
See that bead of sweat come down on that compressor protection.
10-minute long, 5-minute time delay.
Have you guys ever seen anything beyond 5 minutes? For default's always been 5 minutes from what I've seen on every thermostat, but I'm curious to see if that floats around with other thermostats, or is that
you could do more on Honeywell, I think.
Honeywell, a lot of them are adjustable, but 5 minutes has been the industry standard for years. I mean, if you go back on a lot of the older units, they actually had little time delay boxes in the outdoor units. And still today, a lot of outdoor units have a time delay, especially the heat pumps built into the outdoor board.
So like a delay on make timer, the little square ones with a little dial in there, because we would use delay on make, right? So as soon as it made, it's not going to close until that time exits out, and then it's going to close it out. So either within the thermostat or external, right?
They used to have that little red jumper that you could cut to make it line voltage. Isn't that what that little jumper was for? It's been a long time since I played with one of those, but I thought that's what that was about.
So
they made two different models of those.
Some Geo units have a built-in 10-minute time delay. So
that's a big sweat.
All right.
Yeah, that's a long sweat right there.
Yeah. I've got a question and I don't have an answer to it. I'm gonna throw it out there for you guys. Why 5 minutes and not 6 minutes or 7 minutes or 10 minutes or 2 minutes? Like, what was the determination, the research to go into the default 5 minute time delay?
Probably how long it takes for that refrigerant to level off on the high and the low.
That's where my brain goes, but I didn't know if there was something else there that, we're not thinking about.
I wouldn't think it would have anything to do with the time, because I mean, any contactor manufacturer will tell you they don't want you to start in the unit more than 6 times in an hour, right? They don't want any more than 240 cycles, or 6 to 10 times an hour. So no more than 240 cycles. So when we do rack refrigeration, we see high cycles, something's going on. So I mean,
okay.
So I'm gonna agree with Mike where it's letting everything kind of equalize.
Yeah, they want to have that. The idea originally was to let the refrigerant pressures kind of equalize and settle out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing to me is that then we went into non-bleed TXV.
I was just gonna say that. I was how the heck did that work?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing.
Because I got a TM6 that has that. All my TM6 air handlers have that.
But there are some units that have a hard start that came with a hard start for that very reason. So if they didn't have the equalization of the TXV,
all those units that have in the field, no hard start. It's pretty crazy, man.
Oh,
wow. And personally, I think this is left over from the days of reciprocating compressors.
Yeah, maybe so. I just wanted to throw a little tidbit about I don't know if we covered this in a previous show or I had this conversation with somebody else. I don't know. But when you see an external equalizer on an expansion valve and then you don't, you can have, how do I want to say this? There is TXV that are bleed and there's that are non-bleed.
Now
And both could not have the external equalizer line.
Correct. That external equalizer line has nothing to do with the bleed through.
Correct.
Right. So Eric, I have a question though. Like, how do you specifically know that? What's on the box? Because I used to just ask for it, but like, what's specifically on the box from the TXV? Does it say it on the box?
Non-bleed or bleed or what?
Yeah.
No, you're going to have to look in the number. Like in Sporlan, there's going to be it's going to be part of the
It's the code, just like the
built into
condenser model number code that tells you everything. Okay, interesting.
Brian Orr went over that a lot, and you can't use a one hose vacuum setup on those, or you got to be careful. Do it on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's a really tough call, though. You know, I guess I don't know. I guess there's always a way to figure that out. You could run the system, shut it down, see what it does. But if you can't run the system, how do you know if you got a non-bleed TXV?
You know that that thing called nitrogen you got there that you're bleeding through there?
I knew you were going to come back with me that.
Mm-hmm.
It'll tell you a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, when the system's off, that valve should be slightly open. Just because of the temperature on the bulb.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Right? Yeah. 75
Oh,
degrees,
yeah, no,
80
yeah.
degrees.
You make a good point. Yeah. If it'll be warm, it's going to be open anyway.
If the system is off and there's no refrigerant in there, that bulb's going to have that valve slightly open just because of the way that the valves work.
This is an easy topic, so I'm cool to go down the rabbit hole on it. But what else?
We're looking on time though.
You know, we're good. We're good on time.
Good?
My question is, this is for me. I never looked into expansion valves hard enough to know when they open up, how much range does a TXV have once let's say you have an air conditioner.
I would say 3 horse hairs.
And it's no, hear me out. Let's say it's got its normal scale that it's running. Let's say you've got a coil, normal superheat, suppliers running on a 52, something like that, and that TXV is just modulating. Mm-hmm. But let's say the house gets a little warm, and the TXV opens up. How much range does that TXV really have? Is there like a safety zone in that TXV? Brad, you probably would know more about what I'm laying down right here. Like,
I don't know how long. Like, you're talking about the actual throw, right? Like how far it's.
How much range can a TXV throw at something?
Are you talking about
built into the valve?
Are you talking about the capacity range?
Yes.
There's definite capacity ranges on there.
Because you can get TXVs. You can order coils that have TXVs in them that go from 3-ton coil to 4-ton coil. That TXV's got to have some stretch.
It depends, because balance port valves actually have a wider range than a Q body. So Sporlan makes rebuildable, right? Mm-hmm. You have a B and a BQ. B is just the balance port that has the center pin right in the middle. And then the non-balance port has the 2 pins. That's how you can actually tell the difference. And we had a problem where we were working on an industrial chocolate plant, and when I took it over, the guy told me, he's like, "Yeah, that unit we have to replace the compressor usually once a year." I'm like, "Wait, why?"
Say a chocolate plant?
Yeah.
Not the one that blew up, right?
No.
All right, good.
But anyway, so he's telling me this thing keeps blowing up, and I'm lazy. Like, I would rather figure out what the hell's going on than have to change out a compressor, because I don't want to do that. And so he's like, "Yeah, we tried everything. We tried adjusting the belts. We tried they actually tried filing down the pins, because they had a 30-ton. And then
file the pins down?
Yeah, I swear to God.
Bro,
I tried filing them down, and then one day I'm looking at it, because like, there's no way I'm going to change this every year. Like, we were getting I think 8 degrees of superheat up at the condensing unit upstairs. And this is a huge freaking air handler. So I'm looking, and I'm standing in front of the discharge, and I'm getting hit really hard with a lot of discharge, but it's not really sucking that bad on the other side. So I'm like, I wonder what'll happen. So I had my Cooper up there, and the Cooper probe's like 20 foot long. So I have it all the way down here, and I start breaking fins off on the actual air distribution. And as I do it, the superheat starts going up. And up,
my God.
And up. So finally, after I literally punched out everything, it was around like 24 degrees of superheat. So sorry I segued, but like, I brought that up because, they literally were like, yeah, a 30-ton was too big, was flooding back real hard, and a 15-ton was starving. So they're like, we're just going to take the 30, we're going to remove the pins and just file them down.
Holy smokes, man. Gotta love commercial refrigeration, baby.
That's definitely an area of weakness for myself.
That's why I like
Not what I do.
residential, because you can't mess with the pins. You got those Goodman adjustable ones that are just garbage. I can't stand those damn things. And
All
that's
right.
about it. You know,
We are at time, Mark. It's time to
Damn.
move on. We're on topic 3.
We're
Moving
just getting
fast.
good.
I know. All right. So, third topic of the night is deadband. Also,
Beatles?
yeah, deadband.
The Beatles. Oh, you're not talking about
All of
those.
them are dead.
So,
You could say
I-
ABBA.
I know we talked about this one last show with Steve, and I just felt like, this topic segued us into this show, and it's worth reliving again. Even for those who didn't catch it last go around, we got to talk about this. This was super cool. So Steve Rogers did some research on deadbands. I think he said his Ecobee came defaulted to a 1/2 degree deadband. But let's talk about, let's back up. We got to say what deadband is.
Yeah, let's define deadband.
All right,
for
Eric,
sure.
who wants to take it?
You got it, man. You're
All
on.
right,
it.
I'll take deadband. So deadband is when your system is running, and let's say it's at 73 degrees, and your inside of your house temperature is at 73 degrees, and it needs to cycle off at 72. Air conditioner runs, gets to 72, boom, cycles off, right? And then you don't allow your air conditioner to come back on till say 70 degrees. You've got 2 degrees of deadband, right?
Say that again now.
I know that was rough, wasn't it? Let me try it again.
Take two. Take two.
Take 2. So your air conditioner's running and it cycles off at 73 degrees.
What's your set point?
Your set point is 73.
Okay, so your set point 73.
Yeah.
What's your point where the air conditioner is going to turn off at?
73.
Well, you got 72.5, right? Because it's going to overshoot.
No. So deadband is the range where that air conditioner's off. So if your set point is 73, right, and you have a 1 degree deadband.
Oh, you're up and down one?
No, 1 degree deadband means you go down a 1/2 degree. So you
72.
cool it down to 72.5, and it turns off at 72.5, and then it restarts again at 73.5.
Yeah. Well,
that's a 1 degree deadband.
It depends on the manufacturer, though, because there's some manufacturers out there where they use where the deadband is exactly like you explained, right? But then there's other manufacturers. If you say there's a 1 degree deadband, sometimes that's 1 degree high and 1 degree low of the actual set point. You know what I mean? So it's not. You'd have to go off of whatever the thermostat or whatever kind of control that you're using, making sure that deadband is exactly either how I described it or how Eric did.
Yeah, okay. I haven't seen that one yet, because that would be like a plus/minus 1 degree deadband then, right?
Yeah.
Well,
see, I like my
there's
thermostat to be
more I
like
want
a
to talk about
mercury
this, but I don't
sensing
want to get into like the next topic.
Oh,
So
okay.
I got to put the brakes on it.
Okay.
Put it in the private chat.
So what's
So yeah, let's talk about deadband, why it's important. So Steve did this research by basically measuring his runtime cycles and how long it took to get up to full scale. Basically he figured out a sensible heat ratio at different set points of the cycle. And he learned that at a 1/2 degree deadband, he was cycling more and removing less humidity. And if he would have just opened it up to a 1 degree deadband, which he did do and then data logged, he gets maybe a little bit more runtime. I can't remember if he said more runtime.
He gets double the runtime.
Was it
But
double, or was
but
it just the runtime was
it-
collectively all at the same
It
time?
was double the runtime, but double the off time.
That doesn't make
So
sense.
the
I-
runtime got twice as long.
Right, but I don't think it doubled. I think it just got put together. Like you could have 5 on, 5 off, 5 on, 5 off, or you could have 10 on, 10 off.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying there. Yes, that's exactly what you end up with. So
You
your
get the same-
cycle,
you
your
get the
cycle
same
time-
runtime. You get the same amount of runtime, but your runtime's now bulked together.
And Brett, let me recap. He was just a slightly bit oversized with tonnage.
Gotcha. So he was trying to get a little bit more runtime to take humidity, so he had higher humidity.
Right.
He was getting, I want to say like 30 something percent, maybe more
Dude, the data was
humidity
crazy,
removal.
bro.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, like how much humidity you can get back in the system. So I mean, like this is always a debate whether you want the fan running all the time or not the fan running, all the time, where you have it on auto or on. And I that chocolate plant that I was speaking of, it had a big air handler that it was controlling, but then they also had a steam coil. Well, if the steam coil would shut off, like something malfunctioned with it, where the actual air conditioning satisfied, the humidity, as soon as that air conditioning would shut off, the humidity shot up 35%. Because now all that latent heat that it pulled out, it's just throwing it back out into the freaking onto the facility. And it was chocolate. So like if you have high humidity, when it comes out at the end, because it's going to change the dew point, it ends up causing the chocolate to sweat, and then it's garbage.
Wow.
Nobody likes melting chocolate, man.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing here.
M&M's, baby.
Right. So Michael's Ecobee doesn't have a deadband setting, but it's got a minimum cool runtime. So I'm assuming that Ecobee then, if you set a minimum runtime on there, right, it widens that deadband out a little bit, and it's going to figure that out through a learning, probably some kind of a
because
pin
it's a
loop
smart thermostat. That's right. Yeah,
Must be
the minimum
different
runtime.
I wonder what's going on with that.
Minutes.
Steve had deadband in his. I wonder, unless he thought it was called something else.
Oh, his was an Ecobee.
His was Ecobee too. Maybe they made different variations. I'm not sure.
It might depend on the model.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they've got it like, standard, and they've got the really smart.
Yeah, they got the what do you call it? Is it Ecobee Lite and then Ecobee Pro? Or I thought it was called Ecobee 5. But anyway, the
last time I checked, it's probably changed 20 times already.
I'm not 100% sure.
It's like the iPhone.
I think it's called the Pro, and I think the Pro I think it comes with the remote sensor.
I think Lite does no dehumidification, and that Pro might have some type of
Lite. The Lite will not give you accessory controls on the thermostat. You don't get the relays to say, like, if you wanted to tie in a dehumidifier to it, I don't think you could do that with the Lite. I think that's the drawback of going with the Lite, and I think the Pro will do that.
Well, okay, so Ecobee currently has a premium, an enhanced, and a light. The premium is the top of the line, the enhanced is their middle, and then the light is the
if you're gonna do it, I'm kind of with, I believe this is Adam. Just go premium. I'm just gonna say it. Like, if you're gonna buy an Ecobee, just get the premium Ecobee, because you don't want to not have those options. You don't have to go buy
they
it
just
again.
want to hit every market and make that money.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, I know what they're doing, but from a technician point of view, I mean, I don't want to have to go like, oh, you got a nice Ecobee, but man, it don't have auxiliary settings. I can't.
It's true, dude. I've been there,
if
man.
I wanted to, or something, and then nobody wants to have to take an expensive thermostat off the wall and replace it with another expensive thermostat.
Dude, the premium has Spotify.
Oh.
Say what? You get Joe Rogan on there?
Well, there you go. How much is that bad boy?
I don't know.
It's not going to say it.
Look it up on ecobee.com.
I got you. Eric's keeping me straight.
That's another one of our sponsors. Thank you.
All right.
Because if we say the price today, it'll change tomorrow.
Well, that's one good way to cover. Well said, Eric.
Can we get that on True Tech Tools?
No.
No.
Sorry.
Damn.
Eric, are y'all selling thermostats at True Tech Tools? Or no?
We had the Sensi for a while, when the big monitoring system from Sensi.
Yeah.
Jim
had
Bergman
that
was
for a while, but
get that.
Since Emerson's quit supporting that, I don't think we have anything.
Gotcha.
I mean, that market's super saturated out there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Eric, it's Copeland now. Can't call it.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
Let's say Copeland.
Copeland. Or
what did I miss, man? Was there like a new name structure? They rebranded?
Emerson sold the Copeland division to Blackstone.
That's what I want to say. Yeah.
The real estate group,
Blackstone, BlackRock, whatever. One of those hedge funds that owns like most of America.
Yeah, some black company with a lot of company. Yeah, some company starts with black and has a lot of money.
So if you want to start a business and you want a lot of people to invest in it, make sure it starts with black, like BlackRock,
Blackstone,
or Black HVAC. I don't know. That's going to be our next show.
They're killing it.
All right, wore
Look at
this
his pan.
topic out, and I've only
Oh.
got a few more seconds. Oh, go ahead, Brett.
No, I just want to add this because I've been looking for this while we were talking. So we were talking about the bleed port on the expansion valve. So this actually comes from a document: permanent bleed port or rapid pressure balancing construction. Air conditioning or refrigeration systems employing split phase or PSC motors, which have a low starting torque, requires a low and high side pressure for equalization. So if it's a PSC or a split phase, I guess it would need the bleed.
Yeah, but I was
I'm just reading the
I'm
document.
almost
Don't yell at me.
I'm almost positive that the scrolls start better with differential pressure on them.
He yell at you like he's yelling at me right now. I don't know. I get it.
He
Yelling.
does.
We're moving on.
Sorry.
Here we
Moving
go.
on.
I just that like sticks in my head somewhere that scrolls start better with differential pressure, but now I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah.
So I am not going to explain this one because this is not one that I'm super familiar with.
I thought this was a
understand what
spelling
it.
issue.
No, I mean it could be. To be honest with you, I've heard my dad say this more than once,
Heat droop.
and I think I know exactly what it means. I'm not going to say I'm 100% sure, but I've heard it called droop, not backup heat droop. But I've heard the word droop quite a few times out of my father's
I'm gonna
mouth.
take a hard pass on this.
Just to let you know,
Me
he's
too.
the only person I have ever heard say it.
Oh, this is a really common one where we use backup heat
Yeah.
and auxiliary heat. Now, I want to define backup heat versus auxiliary heat here, okay? Because backup heat is if the heat pump is not operating. That's a backup heat source versus auxiliary heat is adding on top of the heat that the heat pump is generating, because the heat pump is almost always going to be generating heat at a less expensive cost than electric heat will until it gets really, really stupid cold. All right. So you're always generating less
What's
expensive
stupid
heat.
cold.
Yeah.
Define stupid
Things
cold.
that you don't ever see in Florida. Just don't worry about it. Okay.
That's right. That's correct.
All three.
Mike,
you all
Mike,
are like,
stop installing electric heat, Mike.
all right. So like Chris is in Louisiana. Mike's down in South Florida.
5
Brent,
kW all day.
You're in
Yeah,
hotter than all get out
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah, but I grew up in Pennsylvania and I lived in Connecticut for about 5 years, so I know what snow is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, but anyways, so droop is bringing on the auxiliary heat. All right. And it does it by watching the indoor temperature. So you run along, say your set point's at 72 degrees, you're running along at 72 degrees, and your heat indoors starts to drop because you've gotten cold enough outside that the heat pump can no longer produce enough BTUs to keep the house at set point. That makes sense, because as it gets colder outside, the heat pump loses capacity.
Right.
All right. So as it's running along, the indoor temperature starts drooping, and say it goes down to 71. Now you can set your droop at 1 degree or 2 degrees or whatever you want. But as it's coming down, say it's a 2 degree droop, now you hit 70 degrees, and then it's going to kick on that auxiliary heat to supplement the heat pump. But you do that in a way that what's best to do it in is a way that it brings on the smallest amount of the electric heat, because it'll cycle that electric heat off and on. If the thermostat's properly configured, it will cycle that auxiliary heat off and on to maintain temperature.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But it's going to run the compressor continuously.
Right.
So it's not going to cut out the mechanical cooling at that point, or mechanical heating. I'm sorry, at that point.
Right.
Correct. So you're going to keep the compressor running constantly, which is better for the compressor, right, Brett? It's better to not start it, turn it off and on. So now we have a constantly running compressor, and we have an auxiliary heat source that's adding a little bit of extra heat. It's just an on-off heat. So if it's 2.5K, 3K, 5K, whatever the minimum amount you can turn on.
So you
in
could
that
stage
heat
like a
strip is.
Y1, 2, and 3.
Well, so this is where your W comes in. So the Y is your compressor
I'm sorry,
call.
W1, 2, and 3.
Right. So
that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. So Y is your compressor call.
Yeah.
And then W1 is oftentimes like a minimum amount of heat.
Mhm.
Okay. And then W2 may be more heat. And then that E terminal, okay, that emergency heat terminal, the way I've used it a lot is you have a relay that interlocks everything and just turns on all the electric heat at once.
Everything.
Yeah.
Emergency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's your emergency. Your heat pump fails. Whatever. It gets filled up with ice. Something happens where that heat pump can't run anymore. Then you turn it on to emergency heat and you get 100% of the electric heat. Or if you're in a dual fuel situation, you set it, then the gas furnace comes on.
Right.
Now, if you're in a dual fuel situation, you do not run the compressor and the gas furnace at the same time, because that heat pump coil is downstream of your gas furnace.
Oh, right.
You'll be blowing heat across a hot coil.
That's no good.
You're blowing 130-degree air into your condenser coil.
You might spring a leak.
You're going to trip a head pressure switch real fast.
I have a question. I have a question then. So, like, does that, because I just bought a whole bunch of residential equipment for the training center in Houston that we're expanding, and I think all the stages came on with a sequencer. So do you have to differentiate that when you order it to make sure that it has separate stages of electric heat that you can actually stage it?
It depends on the heat pack. Like, how big of a heat pack are you putting in there?
It was a 3-ton unit. I don't do that math. Go ahead. You tell me.
Well, but
would you get
a furnace or an air handler?
What's your load calculation for the amount of heat? Because the heat strips are not part of the air handler. You have to order them separate.
Yes.
Yeah, you might put a 5 kW in a.
If you put a 5 kW in there,
you're going to have one W1 controller.
Yeah, just one.
But if you get 15, you might get 3 W controllers. But I imagine you just get 2.
So you might have to actually do that in the field then, right? You'd have to re-engineer it. Like if you were trying to account for
no, you would get 2 wires and you would get to choose. And they would. I haven't paid attention to this quite in detail like Eric has. I do know that you're going to get a W1, W2, but I think depending on the manufacturer, some may bring 5 on and then 5 on the other. Some may split it up. I haven't paid attention to know how they're splitting it up if they do.
A lot of times you're going to get, 10 kW is going to be a 60 amp breaker.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times if you have say a 15 kW, you're going to get a 5 and a 10, or you may get 2 7.5s.
That's what I say.
But a lot of times you get a 5 and a 10 split on there.
Talk about electric heat. Now I'm back in.
But we're also getting into, there's heat kits that are also like 8.3.
Yeah.
There's some weird sizes
7.5. Yeah.
It really depends on the manufacturer and how they configure them. But normally when you get above 5, typically you're going to get 2 steps, but not always. Sometimes you only get 1 step.
And then Train had a circuit board on the heat kit.
So
for a little bit.
Here's something I've been reading into because we're working on heat mode for the TrueFlow. And I've been having to bird dog read everything inside I could get my hands on. And something I was reading the other day, and this feel like something I should have definitely knew, but
yeah, I agree with this.
Oven. That's my emergency heat kit right there.
Yeah.
Toaster oven.
As your voltage goes down to the heat kit, your amount of power out of the heat kit is going to be reduced. Like the amount of watts that you.
Oh, you mean like the high voltage, like 208, 240?
Yeah, like if the heat kit says it's 10 kW at 240, and then the heat kit gets 208, you're going to lose watts coming out of that.
How much, bro?
It's rated. It's rated right on there. That's a standard Ohm's law conversion because it's It's straight resistance heat.
Standard for you.
It's not insane, but it's probably more than you would think.
Bill Nye, the science guy. Absolutely, dude. I go on the beach side over here. They got 208 all day. You come inland, and it's 240. So we get some.
It's going to be rated in the manual for the heat kits.
How much
they have different? They've got ratings on them for the different voltages.
Dude, when's TEC coming out with that airflow conversion?
I've already said too much, bro. I've already said too much.
All right, buy the stock. Buy the stock. This guy really keeps it closed lip. I call him up during the week.
I can't, man.
He's like,
I
can't say nothing, Mike.
No,
I can't say nothing.
He don't
it's
even
like
tell
the
me
mafia
anything.
over here, man. It's the mafia. If I say anything, they just cut my fingers off.
Yeah,
You know
free
what I mean?
shoes for Chris.
Chris is gonna have a John Wick finger.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, guys. Last topic of the night. Let's make the most out of it. You ready? Dehumidification or overcooling to dehumidify?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants it?
I'll
Michael?
take it.
I'll take.
Michael?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is Michael's, I think. Got his name
This is
written all
my
over it.
area, man.
This is Florida right here.
Yeah. Dehumidification, overshoot. I usually do 3 degrees, but I pass it along, to the customer because you get 2 or 3 of these no cools.
Tell us
Not
what it
no
is, man.
cools.
Tell us what it is.
But yeah, you have your set point, say 75 degrees. You can overshoot on Honeywell train by, I think, at the most 3 degrees. So you could go down to like low 72 just to throw out like a low speed fan call. Make that coil really cold. So just get that.
Why would you want to overcool then? For what benefit does overcooling bring?
Yeah, and usually it's with a smarter thermostat. So you got a thermostat that has humidity built into the thermostat. So you're looking for 50% humidity. If your 50% is not satisfied, and you're running over 50% set point, it will drop the temperature in the house to obtain that drier environment in home.
Yeah, but if you drop the sensible temperature, doesn't your RH go up?
Well, if you run that unit longer, so you get more, and you slow that fan speed, you're going to get a lot more latent out of the coil.
Gotcha.
I want to take a stab at this.
Longer runtime then is just by allowing it that temperature to droop, you're getting a longer runtime out of it.
You're going to get that runtime. Yep.
More humidity removal. Now, does that, when you're doing overcooling, does that then say your set point is 75, you got a 3 degree overcool on there? Does that cool down to 72, shut off, and then rise all the way back up to 75 before it turns back on again? Or does it hold temperature at 72 constantly?
My Honeywell, that's a good question, man. I think you'd have to have both in the green for okay to go. So
both what?
Like your temperature and your humidity. So if your humidity was okay, it would shoot back to that 75 temp to make or break. And on mine, the way I have it set is it throws low fan speed if the humidity is high.
Now that depends on how you wire it up then.
It is true. Yeah.
I mean, you've got to wire, you have to tell that what you're doing, because the thermostat's just a switch.
That's true, man. I mean, you could just have it just overshoot to make longer run times. You don't have to change the fan's profile.
How's just saying it's holding at the lower temp?
Yeah. So this is something that I've never understood.
Humidity's still out of range.
That I've never understood about overcooling, why they don't let it cycle all the way back up, because then they're holding that lower temp. Now, that does create a wider differential between indoors and outdoors. So it kind of creates an artificial load, which makes the thermostat cycle on more. But I don't
know if my Honeywell IAQ does that. I think it just, temp is temp. Humidity is humidity.
Brett, in your world, are you seeing this in what you guys are messing with?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So we usually have reheat. We don't have overcooling, right? Mm-hmm. So any of our dehumidification is usually utilizing some sort of heat source, right? So, heat reclaim, a lot of big dehumidifiers, they'll actually take the liquid line. They'll run, they'll have a solenoid that'll divert the liquid line out into a separate coil. So they'll take that liquid, run it out into another coil to raise the temperature. Just not to raise the temperature, but just to put a load so the unit doesn't cycle off the mechanical cooling.
Didn't Linux do that a long time ago?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, I mean, as long as you have as long as you have the heat after it, right? You don't have to worry about it, shooting the heat directly into that coil, right? Because you want to pre-cool it before you raise the temperature.
Yeah, there is Lennox does that. It's called the Humiditrol, and basically it's just it adds another coil downstream of your evaporator coil that you run a separate lines into from the outside. So you got to run a whole nother line set,
Yeah,
and
third line. Yeah.
it takes part of the condenser and puts it into that that other coil. So it makes your furnace, you know, if you've got a furnace on there, it makes that about 10 feet tall.
Well, here's the thing. What you could do is you could take you could take the liquid line straight off that's going into the air handler itself, and you
I
could
think
actually do a three-way valve, right? And have it
that's
convert.
that's what Linux did. I'm almost positive. They took the liquid line going to the to the air handler from the condenser, and they used just liquid line heat. But what I don't remember, because I didn't do Linux
So
as
it's
a
not
brand.
hot gas.
Yeah,
I mean-
I've only done one of the Linuxes,
Gas
but
right off the
I swore
compressor.
they
Brett,
brought hot
Nice.
gas.
You make
in.
a really interesting point, though, and like circling back on this Linux idea. Now that we have inverter-based equipment and we've got communicating equipment,
Yeah.
we could literally monitor that liquid line temperature, which we're probably already doing with inverter technology. We could ramp up the compressor, slow down the outdoor fan just to get enough reheat from the liquid line to cut it over into a reheat coil. Boom. There's
So
your reheat
VRF.
right there.
VRF. So there's
Yeah.
in VRF there's 3-pipe and there's 2-pipe, right? 3-pipe has its own separate for heat
Right.
heat recovery. But here's the thing: Mitsubishi
Did a
which
2-pipe
we're
with
putting
heat.
in our training center, is going to have a 2-pipe system, and they have that same theory. What they do is, because they're utilizing the liquid line to reheat, right, to actually do the heat. But if they need more, where it's not actually getting that set point, they can arbitrarily just raise the
So
saturation.
that's what they're doing. Okay, I didn't know I didn't know how they were doing it. I didn't do any Mitsubishi, but I was wondering. I never looked into how they were pulling off the heat option. So they're jacking up the liquid line temp and diverting it from the branch selector box. Gotcha. That's interesting.
Dude, that's some wild technology, man.
It
run
is.
a liquid
It's-
line.
Yeah.
You get
Well, I mean,
gas.
we do that in commercial already, right? I mean, like I said, a lot of these units they have these Addison units, and like I said, instead of taking that discharge temperature out, because you're getting a little bit more capacity out of the liquid anyway, then, right? Because if you're
Right.
if you're getting rid of some of that sensible heat, that liquid's going to be a colder temperature, which means your expansion valve theoretically should be at a larger size at that point.
Yeah.
Now the refrigerant has more mass but less volume, so more refrigerant, more BTU per pound can go through that port.
That's true. You're gonna have more mass when it's really cooled off like that. You're right. That's
Adam was
crazy.
asking, has anyone played with the target evap temp setting on Daikin's? I'll
No,
answer
but
that
we're
one.
excited to see Adam's new AC in his house, though.
I will say this:
Let's go, baby.
I don't believe the Fit system has that option, but when you step up to the VRV, it absolutely does have that option. I've done that. I've had to do the button sequence to change evaporator temp on the I can't remember the model number, but the bait like the 14 tons that stand up and you can stack them all in a row, pipe them together. That has the option, but I don't think like the Fit line has that option. Just a whole different build. Now the units that you put in your house, like I think they called it the Model S. I don't remember, but there's two different variations, right? There's kind of like the VRV for your house, which isn't like the Fit. That I think it also does have the button sequence that's similar to the commercial line.
I gotta say, congratulations to the Overtime guys. 200 episodes.
I know, man. That
was awesome.
We're gonna get there one day. We're just gonna see who falls off first.
You're absolutely right. Lennox does it off the liquid line. They pull the liquid line in, but then they also have they got a reference line in there that comes out of that coil into a charge compensator, as well as a T into the vapor line after the charge compensator. So they got a lot of stuff going on when you add that in there.
On their Humiditrol rooftop units, they actually do use discharge gas, but I guess on this residential thing, because it would be a pain in the butt to have to run a whole other line all the way out there. So it makes sense to utilize the heat already coming off your liquid line anyway.
Well, you would have to have a custom made outdoor unit or a special outdoor unit then, and all they're doing is piping this Humiditrol coil into a standard outdoor unit, because you'd have to have, like you said, you'd have to have a discharge line port on that outdoor unit. They're not going to let contractors just go braze that into the middle of it.
I'm bringing us back full circle on this. I just want to make a comment to those who are playing with this setting. You should be careful with this setting, because this is going to this is one of those settings that could potentially lead to, having things sweat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's also
kind of like Spider-Man, you know.
It's also one of those settings you have to be really careful about explaining to the homeowner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because if you set this up and you walk away and you don't explain that well to the homeowner,
They're
and
freezing.
suddenly they call back in the hottest day of the
Mhm.
summer, my air conditioner's stuck on, it won't shut off, and it's colder than what I set it at.
Yeah.
Just feels
With
colder.
great power comes great responsibility.
That's right.
Spider-Man.
Yep. All right. What a show, man. Bam.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Same thing.
You got your job back this week, didn't you?
Yeah, you
Got my
did.
job back. I was fired for 5 minutes.
Brett, we appreciate you coming on,
Yeah,
man.
Brett, man, we've been dying to
Um,
have you back on, bro.
Yeah.
No, I
good stuff.
appreciate it, man.
Good stuff. You might not see the end of Brett. Might
I want
see
to learn some more
Brett.
stuff.
Huh?
I told you I want to learn the sciences. We're getting there sure but slowly, right?
Yeah.
Straight up. All right.
on,
That
Bob.
is round one of terminology and definitions.
Nice.
The HVAC Grapevine Show.
Good deal.